It's your girl, Professor Cinephile, and we are going to talk about the long-awaited, highly anticipated Beetlejuice 2, right? Okay, so I'm a woman of a certain age, and I remember when the original Beetlejuice came out, and with Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder, and it was like a big deal back then. It became like a cult classic, really etched itself in like, the film canon as just one of those like those films that you think about it just became so iconic. Like it just, Beetlejuice, this idea just kind of moved into our lives and we were like, okay, it was dark back then. And it's still dark today if you watch it, but it was funny. It had its moments, some pretty interesting characters and the like. So now we have Beetlejuice 2. It's over 30 years later, and several people are reprising their roles. Winona Ryder is back playing Lydia. Michael Keaton is back playing Beetlejuice. We get an introduction, with Jenna Ortega coming in as like this next generation. And the story revolves around the family returning to their home when someone passes away. Spoiler alert, I'm not saying anything that wasn't in the trailer, but I'm going to issue a spoiler alert. I think I forgot to do that the last couple of reviews, and I'm sorry. All right, what can I say? I remember watching it and I walked out of it like feeling like this was good. And I know that a lot of, the reviewers didn't like it, or, there were criticisms of it, but I actually enjoyed it. Now, I'm not a big fan of Tim Burton, and, he's said some really messed up racist things in the past. And so, it's kind of one of those things you try to navigate and be like, all right, what's he going to do here? And I thought about it, but there were some criticisms about how he used Black people in this film, and I'm just going to put it out there, y'all. I don't necessarily agree with what people are saying. I enjoyed the film. I thought for those who were looking for nostalgia, you're going to get it. You're going to feel like you're back then when the original came out. And that may be one of my critiques, is that this film didn't really offer anything new. Sometimes when you have sequels, they're connected to the original, but they kind of stand alone. I don't think that this film really offered anything profoundly new, right? And that's fine. Like it doesn't have to. I think it really relied on, Gen X folks like myself to want to see it and want to revisit it, and that's exactly what happened. I thought Michael Keaton was still funny. I think that the new version, well, not even a new version of Beetlejuice, the same old Beetlejuice was doing the same old things and up to the same old antics, trying to get someone to marry him. And now he had a reason to. His ex-wife was haunting him, and he was like, I don't want to marry her because she's like a soul-stealing demon. So imagine someone who's worse than Beetlejuice, and that's kind of what she was. This idea um, that there's another generation who doesn't really believe in ghosts and things like that. That was kind of predictable. Jenna Ortega's role, she's playing Lydia's daughter, and they're kind of estranged because the father died, and that caused like tension between them. We end up He ends up showing up in the afterlife situation, so he's still around. He lets them know he's been checking in on them, so that's good. But they have some tension, and Lydia has made a career out of being able to talk to the dead. And, in some ways, some people could see that was exploitative. She's dating her manager, who is a unscrupulous kind of dude, and he wants to marry her for her money. So that's a subplot in itself. There's a subplot with Beetlejuice of trying to avoid his ex-wife who wants to be reunited with him. You got that. Then you've got Jenna. She's kind of this like social outcast in a way, even though she doesn't believe in the ghost, even though she doesn't go along with her mom, like people still think she's weird. And because she is her mother's daughter, they treat her differently, right? Because her mom's a celebrity now. So that's an interesting subplot. I wish they would have just kind of maybe developed her character a little bit more, just dug a little bit deeper into like her experiences as a teenager. They really just made it about, oh, she's sad because her dad died, and she doesn't like her mom because she thinks what her mom is doing. She thinks her mom is a fraud. And so they tapped into that. Now, one of the criticisms that I've seen of this film is that Black people were kind of stereotypical, and I think we have to be very careful with those kinds of accusations, right? It really is. We really want to look at intention. We want to look at how people are leveraged. I actually liked the placement of the Black folks there. So they had this thing, like, this was called the Soul Train. And, you would get on the Soul Train and get off at a certain stop, really like what your destination is after life. And there was like a whole subway scene where Black people were dancing and stuff, and they were dancing to soul music. And the train conductor was kind of like a quasi Don Cornelius. I liked that scene. It was giving me the Wiz vibes, like the Emerald City scene in the film The Wiz, where like Black people are like dancing and celebrating each other. They're in community with each other. And I received it as kind of like a commentary on like Black folks' deep like faith and spirituality, and this idea that we have about like transitioning into spiritual realms and ancestors and all kinds of things like that. I liked that. People are saying that they were shucking and jiving, and I just didn't walk away from the film with that. Like, that's not what I got out of it. I actually thought it was I thought it was pretty awesome that Black people were there and, kind of guiding people on this soul train that's going to kind of take them to where they're supposed to have their final resting place. Sometimes I just wonder, like, why so many of you are like ashamed of being Black and like ashamed of like our cultural production. We make soul music, we dance, we love those things. Like, why are you making this into some kind of racist stereotype when that is who we are? That's all I was thinking about with that. It kind of rubbed me a wrong way that people immediately jumped to say that Black people were shucking and jiving, as if we aren't soulful people who love to dance, as if we don't have whole, excuse me, celebrations for our Omega events, right? Like, if we don't have these repasts, if we don't have these celebratory kinds of things, I don't know why we're acting like we don't. I don't know. I thought it was actually pretty cool. So, I know people are going to disagree or what have you. I did think it was fun. I liked that Winona Ryder was there. You know what? I ride for her. Remember when she got caught up with the shoplifting stuff and people really tried to disregard her, but I'm like, she's a really dope actress. Like, I really rock with her, and I was very happy to see her reprise this role. They had the issues with old boy, we even going to say his name, being, a child sex abuser or whatever, allegedly, right? And so they didn't have him in the film, but they kind of like used his image, which just opens another can of worms about, kind of AI usage and who owns the rights to your image and all those kinds of things. I think here they made a good decision to not have him there and to not pay him for that. But then ethically, it's a very murky territory, right? And I think that the case can be made for situations like that when somebody has done some harm and has been problematic, but you're trying to have continuity. Maybe that's the way to use the AI. So, I thought about that too. I don't think that you need to be like going into this expecting like pure genius. It's a fun film. Like, that's it. Just go have some fun, watch it, enjoy it. Don't think too much about it. It has its funny moments. It's a pretty straightforward story. A couple of subplots that didn't necessarily get fleshed out the way they could have, but that would have led to like a 3-hour film. So I think they did what they needed to do. I'm gonna give it 3.5 hearts. Give it 3.5 hearts. There were some areas for improvement, but overall, it's just a fun movie to go watch. So why don't you go and enjoy it, and then tell me what you thought about it in the comments. Be sure to subscribe for my channel so you get updates on all my film reviews. Like this video on your way out and share it with people that you love.